Hi folks, this is David Fine with Keys Moths. I am so excited to share with you this adventure we're going on in El Salvador. This is my wife's home country where she was born. We are going to go explore El Salvador and see what kind of butterflies and moths we find there. I think you're gonna enjoy this. Stay tuned, check it out. So this is the first of a two-part series in El Salvador. We are starting off our time in El Sunzal. It's a small town up on the coast in the west part of the country. I've got a friend up there, he's a pastor of a local church, and he does a lot of stuff with taking care of orphans and providing food for some of the poorer folks in that area, doing construction projects that really help those folks out. This guy's a good guy, and he's allowing us to stay with him, and we're gonna check out and see what kind of moths. We're gonna put some lights out, see what kind of moths come to the light, and go exploring some of the beautiful areas and see what kind of butterflies show up as well. So the people of El Salvador live a simple life. When the sun comes up, they are at work. And in fact, even before so, the rooster starts crowing before the sun comes up. Lorenzo and I took advantage of the hammock, La Hamaca, and we stayed there and enjoyed the cool of the morning on several of the days there. It was a beautiful time, but these people start working as soon as the sun comes up, and they work hard all the way until the sun sets. But once that sun sets, life shuts down in El Salvador, and that's when we came out with our lights and put some lights out and look for moths, and we got some interesting looks, and people were like, what are these guys doing? But the people of El Salvador are super hospitable. That's one of the most impressive things that I discovered while I was there, is just how hospitable they are. These people have so little compared to what we have in the United States, yet they're willing to give it to you. If you come into their home, they're gonna make you, you're going to be fed, and you're gonna be fed well. How cool it was to just be separated from all the craziness. There's no Wi-Fi. I mean, none at all. I mean, our cell phones were reduced to being a flashlight and a camera, and we needed both, but there was no internet, no cell phone, no texting, none of that. What a beautiful time to disconnect and just enjoy the sights and sounds of nature. And this is what these folks live with day after day. They love nature, they love the environment, and they get to enjoy that stuff on a daily basis. So we put some lights out in El Sunzal, and I was actually quite disappointed to see how few moths came to the light. I mean, we got a few things, a few moths came in, but it was not exactly what I was expecting. When you're down in the American tropics in the rainy season, you expect to see a lot more moths. I'm not sure what the problem was, if there was some pesticide action going on in that area. I honestly don't know, but we just saw very little in the way of moths. But we did see a few things, but I can tell you right now, we saw a lot more butterflies, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. While there weren't a whole lot of moths, there was a lot of insect life, and some of which you got to take a look after, make sure you don't get bit. There was lots of centipedes, lots of millipedes. There was praying mantis all over the place. We got to see some pretty cool praying mantis that were just hanging out on the sides of the buildings and at the little bug zapper lights that they have there on the compound. But one of the cool things and one of the alarming things is that the place was loaded with scorpions. We saw whip scorpions in bathrooms, and like within 5 minutes of showing up on the property, they were showing us the property, and they opened one of the outdoor little bathroom stalls, and there was a scorpion, and as soon as he saw us, he scurried under the waste paper basket, and it's like, welcome to El Salvador. But one of the cool things that we got to do is I always bring along with me a little flashlight that's a UV flashlight. And if you're out, if you've ever done this before, it's a pretty cool thing. You just shine that UV flashlight, that black light flashlight around at night, and scorpions, when they're under UV light, they light up this iridescent, like glowing yellowish green color. They're very easy to spot at night if you have the right equipment. So I gave some of the flashlights to the people down there. They appreciated that a lot. But there was a lot of bugs, a lot of cool things to see. We saw some neat longhorn beetles. We saw a lot of cool things. Unfortunately, there just was not a lot of moths in that area at that time. While there weren't a whole lot of moths, we saw a ton of butterflies. I mean, right there on the compound, we saw dozens of species of butterflies. They had this ixora hedge that was kind of surrounding there where they have the youth activities, and there was tons of butterflies on that ixora hedge. We saw Paraides montezuma, we saw all different Paraides species, we saw polydamas, swallowtails, we saw monarchs, we saw pierids, we saw all kinds of stuff. And one of the cool things was there was a Royal Poinciana tree on the property, and it looks like it had been damaged, and there was some sap dripping out. And there were Hamadryas butterflies, or cracker butterflies. They get this name from a cracking sound that they actually make as they fly. And these cracker butterflies, these Hamadryans, were on this tree, and pretty much every time we walked by, there was at least 2 or 3 of them on this tree. We got to get pretty close, some pretty close images of those cracker butterflies, which was pretty cool. One of the coolest places we visited while in El Sunzal was a place called Los Chorros. It's the faucets when translated. It's a beautiful area with natural springs in the middle of this, I believe it's a virgin forest in the rainforest there. Absolutely incredible, crystal clear spring water. And here's the deal. I didn't realize we were gonna get to go there and experience a Salvadorian pedicure. That's right. So you put your feet in the water, and all of these little guppy looking fish, I'm not quite sure what they're called, but they come out of nowhere and they start eating all the dead flesh off of the bottom of your feet. Kind of sounds gross, but it was amazing to actually feel these little things pecking off the flesh off of your feet. And by the time you put your feet in there for 20 minutes or so, believe it or not, your feet are actually a lot cleaner than they were beforehand. But I couldn't help it. This place looked absolutely beautiful. I couldn't help but go for a swim with my kids. Check this out. Also, while entering Los Chorros, we couldn't help but recognize that there's all of these very, very large ants, some of them with wings, and they are called San Popo de Mayo. It's this huge ant. They only emerge out in May and early June, but they are massive, and they have wings and they fly, and I understand what I was told is they pack a punch if they were to sting you. Gratefully, none of us got stung, but these things were crawling everywhere. It was kind of interesting. There's a little visitor center there, and we saw right on the tile there this little collection of Dryas Julia, the Julia longwing butterfly, and there was a ton of them. For whatever reason, they were interested in this one tile, and they were sucking some kind of whatever was left on that tile. They look a lot like the Julia that we have here in North America or in South Florida, but ours are a little different. Theirs is a little deeper red, and they have some more dark markings than ours do here. But that was a pretty cool thing to see. Some other cool butterflies we saw a lot of things. We saw Doxocopa pavon, we saw some hair streaks, we saw some rhyodinids and things like that. But one of my personal favorites was Smyrna bloomfieldia, Bloomfield's beauty. It's this beautiful, very large nymphalid that lives only in certain areas, and they stray up into Texas every now and then. And I think they can be found in South Texas, but they were abundant here. We saw a bunch of them, and they were hanging out on the sides of the cliffs, on the rocks. They were actually taking minerals from the sides of the rocks, which was pretty cool to see those. Another cool bug we saw was Diathria astala, the 88 butterfly. This thing was stunning. Inside, we didn't get to see the inside too much, but inside is this deep blue, metallic bluish purple coloration. He was on the mud there, and he let me get really close to him to get some video of him while he was sipping off of the mud. So on the way back to Jorge's property in El Sunzal, we were on this little kind of dirt path that cuts through the little town there as we're traveling back up, and I couldn't help but see up ahead this big cloud of yellow butterflies that were swirling around as somebody rode their bike through the path. And then as the guy rides his bike through the path, all the yellow butterflies come back down and they sit down on this one little spot. Turns out there was a potato chip bag that was discarded there in the middle of the road, and all these butterflies were swarming this potato chip bag. I mean, there was incredible butterflies there. We saw Phoebus rurina. It was there, this giant tailed sulfur. They come into South Florida every now and then. We saw Antios marulea, which is the yellow angled sulfur, also comes into South Florida every now and then. We saw Phoebus senna. We saw orange barred sulfurs. We saw Statira sulfurs, and I'm probably missing a few, but there was a lot of butterflies at this little thing. And one of the cool things, probably the coolest bug I saw, one of my favorite bugs that we saw on the entire trip, was Marpesia chiron, the banded daggerwing. Beautiful thing, and it was totally enthralled with the salts that came out of this potato chip bag. He let me get super close and take some super great video of him as he was sipping on the mud there with the salts from the potato chips. Pretty cool thing. Didn't think about using potato chips as bait, but maybe we'll try it in future escapades down in the Keys. So guys, check out some of the beautiful natural sights that we got to see in El Sunzal, El Salvador. Check this out. Okay. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. You're gonna wanna see the next episode, because next episode, we travel all the way across the country to Corinto. It's in the province of Morazan. That's where my wife was born and where all her family lives. And we are going to see what's up in the mountainous regions of El Salvador. I think this video is worth a like. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. We would love to have your subscription. There's a little bell down there by the subscription channel bar. If you click that bell, you'll get notified every time we put out a new video. We are on Facebook and Instagram. We post a lot of our images of the things we find from day to day there. Please follow us there. And we have a great website. It's www.keysmoths.com. We've got all of our information of all of our studies down in the Florida Keys on the butterflies of moths down in Monroe County. Check that website out. Again, it's www.keysmoths.com. Until next time, enjoy South Florida, and if you ever get a chance, come down to El Salvador. Beautiful people, beautiful country, beautiful bugs. Take care.